You have no idea. Ooh,
Well,
and we are officially live. Ooh, good morning, Ronnie.
good morning, Yasheka. How are you doing this morning?
I'm hot. I'm hot as hell, Ronnie. I'm hot as it's hot. It's hot. Listen, ooh, I tell you, if Eve hadn't bit that apple, I wouldn't be going through this. You know what I'm saying? That's all I know. I wouldn't be going through this.
I hear you. I hear you. And Adam too. In the end, yeah. I guess they both are blamed for this. But
So yeah, I got my fan on. So if y'all hear some rattling, you know it's the fan, and I have my water. I got me a Coke one right here. Listen, I got a whole. I got the window open. Look here, I'm about ready to come up out all these clothes. You hear me? But look, so that's why I'm a little frazzled. All right. Well, good morning out there. Good morning, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are streaming us from. Welcome to day 4 of the Ronnie and Yashika's dating discussion, 12 days till Christmas series. And today we are day number 4, which we are entering the first day of our second block. And the second block is everyone has needs. And so today we are talking about primary dating needs. And if you are tuning in for the first time, I'm Yasheka Foster, affectionately known as the Artist of Dating, and I empower successful women to date through self discovery, finding a love of their life while finding having balance to do it all. Introduce yourself.
good morning, everyone. My name is Ronnie Walker. I'm your master coach of exceptional dating, relationship, and sex. And I coach men and women as well as work with couples. But for those in the dating space, we explore and increase your chances of successful dating through this space of self development.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that, Ronnie. And as I get myself together, and if you guys are viewing for the first time, like I said, we are streaming through 2 social platforms using StreamYard. And so if you want to come in and leave a comment or you want to be part of the discussion, then by all means, allow StreamYard access to you so that we'll know exactly who you are and we give you a shout out. And also, if you're catching this live, make sure to let us know that you're here. And if you're catching a replay, make sure to hashtag replay so that we can know that you watched our video. All right, so the primary dating needs. Um, when I think about primary dating needs, the first thing comes to my mind is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? When he talks about, we need air, we need this, we need that, right? Not to quote him directly, but you're familiar with those needs. Well, when I think about dating, I think about it not in a place of survival like we do with the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I look at it more as a when you have certain needs met when dating, then you feel more fulfilled. You feel more happiness. You feel more love. You feel more, considered. You feel more respected. Like there's so many things that you feel when certain needs are being met in a relationship. And again, this is not, or in a dating, not necessarily, just if you're trying to form a relationship, this is not in order to survive, but just to get that warmy fuzzy that we like to feel when we're dating someone or going through that period to get to know someone. And so, how would you think about primary dating needs?
Well, I always look at dating relationships the same way I look at when we talk about coaching people in the world of self development. You're aiming for fulfillment and not just achievement.
Mm-hmm.
So, we know when we talk about the 6 human needs, we're talking about certainty, variety, significance, love, connection, growth, and contribution. Now, when we speak in the space of relationship and dating, then many people refer to the 5 love languages.
Mm-hmm.
And based on who you talk to, it's either going to be 5, 6, or 7, sometimes 8. But here, then, you're talking about words of affirmation. You're looking at quality time, which is funny enough the most common people when it comes about dating and relationships. Physical touch, acts of service, and receiving gifts. And receiving gifts doesn't always have to be um, some designer bag or clothing or things of that nature. But this is something that you really need to know who you are and what's important. So when we talk about just human needs, when we talk about the basic human needs, that is important to know that because when we talk about things, Yashika, like opposites attract,
Hmm.
and that you mentioned yesterday someone who may be a spender, in other words, a saver, and so they tend to be attracted to those who want to kind of balance this out.
Hmm.
Well, I go deeper as well in terms of just saying, okay, well then, great, you could be a spender, but let's just say you're a spender of your spending goes towards contribution as opposed to spending towards just retail therapy, as many like to call it. So people feel a sense of contribution because they're spending towards, let's say, animal shelters or save the whales or whatever it may be, as opposed to what others may deem as unnecessary spending, but yet it's a temporary fix when we're talking about retail therapy. So it's important to know, and also to when we're talking about the human needs, we want to assess what is first, second, and third, because usually there's one or two needs that leads your desire and decisions that you make. So let's just say you like variety. Let's say variety is your number one in yours. This is a person who likes um, the travel and the type of travel. So they'll do jet ski, they'll do the parasailing. They're the ones who does the bungee jumping.
Hmm.
And with someone else, you may be attracted to someone who likes certainty. And they're like, no, I'm not about to do any of those things because I could drown, the parachute could break. They like certainty. You know, at the same time, you'll have someone who's really into growth. Now, mind you, usually, even if variety is leading your particular need, the first one, maybe the second one is um, certainty. So, again, it's really important to know these things so that as you assess who you are, just know that and how you go about achieving that need as you're going into the dating space and you're asking these questions that Yashika and I covered, you get a sense of where they're leading to. What is their leading need for them as well. And then from that you can assess. You can pretty much assess what usually their love language is. But I tend to cover both. But it's very, very important to know that as you go into the dating and in the growth of your relationship, if in sense you feel that your relationship is on autopilot and not growing anywhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that that's just important. Make and of course, everyone defines their needs differently. Like you were talking about the love languages, right? Um, some people may not need to have one of their needs may not be focused around, gifts or words of affirmation or physical touch, right? Some people are okay with that. Some people feel, like for example, if we lose physical touch, they feel like if too much of this cuddling and being close, it suffocates me. And so for each person, it's different. But long as you know what you need in a relationship, you know what I mean? Because then that way you can kind of figure out if moving forward, because like we mentioned before, and like I've said many times before, people will show you who they are in the beginning. And in the words of Maya Angelou, believe them. So if you are the person that likes something specific, and you're dating someone. So, for example, if my needs are, I like to have physical touch or whatever, and I'm dating someone that's not like that, granted, you can kind of pull some things out of a person sometimes. But for the most part, expect that they're probably not going to be that way in which you need it. And so you have to decide if that works for you long term. Because people do change. I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not saying that, but just understand that if you like to be coddled or cuddled, not coddled, but cuddled, you know, before you go to sleep every night, understand that you may not get 7 days a week. You might only get one day a week. You know what I mean? And you got to figure out the compromise that works for you and what you need in your life to feel fulfilled in terms of your primary dating needs, and then moving into your relationship needs and things like that. So yeah, that's my main takeaway from this, because I know for me, even in my space of, I don't know, I won't say that I have a little bit of everything, as far as me as a person. But there's just certain things that I like, so I'm that person that I definitely need, words of affirmation from time to time. Not all the time, but sometimes. I definitely need the touchy feely. Not all the time, but some of the time. And I dang sure want the gifts. You know what I'm saying? And I want the expensive ones too. And that's not it's all the time, that's some of the time. You know what I mean? But then also you can buy me a $20 robe and I just be as ecstatic, because my thing has always just been, if someone think about me, that's what I've always been, is like, oh my God, I can't believe that you took time out of your schedule to think about me, to do this or do that. So it could be a pack of bubble gum or a card or whatever, and if you think about me outside of normal, if I'm not in a relationship with you and you think about me and we're dating or we're trying to get to know each other, those are the kind of things that woo me. It's not that you sent me that $1,300 bra and panties that I want by Gucci. It's not that. It's not that necessarily. Although that is a plug. For anybody out there watching, I think I posted on my Facebook. If you need my size, DM me. I'll tell you my size. But but just so I'm kind of like that person that needs a little bit of. I won't say need, but I appreciate a little bit of everything. And then there's times where I may, you know, don't want to be bothered with anybody because I need my personal space. And I think most people are like that, but I may be a little bit more than most people. I might need my personal space, half of the day, you know what I mean, or whatever. It just depends. And so I think that when it comes to you and what you're looking for in terms of dating and finding a life partner or a spouse or whatever, you have to decide what you're willing to sacrifice and what you absolutely need in your life, because, everybody, I think people will say, you don't need this or you don't need that. And I beg to differ. I think that when it comes to this life, everyone needs love, some type of love, right? And so, of course, people define love differently, but they want to know that someone is thinking about them, someone is appreciating them, somebody is whatever. So you have to decide, what does your love look like? Does your love look like, I need to be with this person, or this person makes me feel warm and fuzzy because they do this or because they don't do that. You know what I mean? So for you, you have to decide what works for you. And like I said, everybody's love language is different and everybody's needs are different. But understand that none of it is in terms of in order to survive. You know what I mean? So it's not like you need water. It's not like that. But you want to feel that your primary needs are met.
I
So
agree. I agree. I mean, I believe. Listen, anyone who knows me, that I believe in the Creator, and we were created in the grand design out of love. And there are spaces, unfortunately, that you don't have many people talking about love as much. They're trying to, in this whole. I believe they have this whole self-love movement all wrong. And so, knowing that one of the qualities, the best, if you really want to have a good quality of life, is having great relationships.
mhm,
So if we even talking about the space outside of dating and relationships, just as Yashika and I covered yesterday, and the day before, when we were talking about our relationship with our friends and family, and so make sure that when we're talking about, even when we talk about gifts of receiving gifts, that love language, that may be something of spending time with someone is a gift to someone. It could be helping them in their business, their charity, things of that nature that really means a lot. And and this is how a lot of people, when we talk about fulfillment, this is how many people feel fulfilled.
right.
You want to get to that space of fulfillment, not just achievement. It's great. I'm happy you've got like 500 degrees and all the accolades. But again, that's achievement. And some people do, based on what it is, have some sort of fulfillment with that. But being able to go beyond that and be of service to others is a very fulfilling space. And for someone that and for others, they're gifts to those people. So I remember at one point volunteering at this one improvements council where I was dealing with working with every year Christmas, and providing dinner for those less fortunate, which touched me. But to see the parents,
Mhm.
and the faces of these children as I would go out and help. There was a very good friend, and we would go out and get donations from toys and gift cards and things of this nature. And just to see that with those, that is a form of gift giving, just in terms of the time of having, Santa there and playing games with these kids that they may not have gotten some other. So it wasn't just a gift, but they just loved the fact that there were other kids there. And that's a beautiful thing. So when we talk about needs and knowing who we are, we really get a chance to see who we are. And I want us to focus more on how do we go about loving one another as opposed to just proving how much we can get along without people and because again we're talking about the humanity of it all, and that plays a part, and the person that you may be attracted to, that may be big on their list, and that is something that you can grow from because again this may be something that you've had challenges with. So it's a journey, ladies and gentlemen. It really is a journey. I know I've grown in those spaces, and learning what how I look at my first, second, and third need, and then what my love language is, and learning of that, and noticing how years ago, if I was to analyze this, what would it have been then as opposed to what it is now, and why.
Mhm.
So again, this is something that you will find very, very refreshing. And it's not as challenging as you think it is. But again, knowing you and starting with you is very, very key in the process of meeting that significant other if you're talking about the space of dating and the type of friends and associates that you choose to be around.
Yeah, and I think that's a good segue to what I was thinking. And if I was to offer any of the viewers just some ways to kind of define what your primary needs are or dating needs are, I would first tell that person to really figure out what they need in their life, meaning what's primary for you. Like, do you need someone to, and just be clear about that. Do you need someone to, um, you know, give you hugs and kisses every day, right? Is that something that's important to you? And then if that is, understand why you need that. If this is the way you was raised, with with your parents, or is it the way you was not raised and you felt like you needed that in your life? Like some people, I've met people where they say they come from parents that didn't really show a lot of affection when they were kids. And so now they're either very affectionate people or not affectionate at all. And so, but a lot of times it will stem from things like that, like the way they were raised. When I was raised, my mother wasn't very affectionate with me, right? And because her mother wasn't very affectionate with her. However, I made a choice with my oldest son that this was something that I absolutely wanted to have in my life, was to show my child affection. And so when I had my oldest son, I made sure to love on him and kiss on him and do all the things with him until he got to be about 8 or 9 years old, because I was still tucking him in at night. And he told me that he was a big boy. He didn't need me to tuck him in no more. And I felt some kind of way about that, but I knew that that was something that I needed in my life, because I knew that to me, that was how I felt love, and I needed that, and I wanted my kids to feel that way. And so, like my baby boy, he's gotten so much love and affection until I think he's just overwhelmed with it because he was the baby for so long. And then my daughter, I think just by genetics, she's just like a touchy feely person. You know what I mean? Like if I could pick her up every day, even she'll be 8 tomorrow, and in her mind, I should still be able to pick her up and put her on my hip like a baby, because she's just all girly and she's just all want to be hugged and kissed up on. You know what I mean? And so you have to decide as a person looking to date or find a love, if that's something you need in your life. You know what I mean? So, and then another thing is one, like I said, once you identify what that is, that primary need is, figure out why it is that you need that. Once you can do that, then say, okay, what am I willing to compromise if that person has all these other things, but not really this thing? Can I deal with, having a kiss first thing in the morning and then last thing at night before we go to bed? Or is that going to be enough to sustain me? You know what I mean? Or do I'm one of them people that need you to hug and kiss on me at night, in the middle of the day, and in the evening, and then twice on weekends? Like, you have to decide what works for you, and what you're willing to compromise on. And if affection is not one of them, then have a talk with your partner or your potential partner and let them know that this is what you need, and kind of find a meeting in the middle. A meet in the middle. So, what are some things that you would advise some viewers when they're talking about their primary dating needs? How do they determine what works?
Again, know yourself. Know yourself. Really take the time. If we're looking at the human needs, you know, we know what you once you know what they are. Just say, okay, what stands out the most to you, and describe yourself. If you're having a little challenge, that again, this is where coaching comes in. You know, this is where, having to describe yourself, and as the person is listening to you from this space, you'll find yourself. I'm sharing some things that you may have a little challenge with, even sharing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and then together you come to a place and saying, okay, this is what this is.
Right.
Okay, this is what this is, and this is what's second, this is what third. Then we're talking about the love languages and how that plays into that. And you'll be surprised that once you've got this established, you say, okay, so what has to happen in order for you to feel appreciated, loved, and respected? And then as you write that out, and I strongly suggest writing that out because it really does a lot in terms of between the muscle memory and then how it triggers in your brain and locks in, then it'll help you come to what those love languages are.
Mm-hmm.
And then why. What has to happen. Now again, and see, and just as you said, you learn this because you want to know that once you effectively communicate to this person, again, because you have to, this is just a non-negotiable. You want to be able to effectively communicate to this person once you get to that space in the dating, during the dating time, so that they know. Now, I guess, well, I don't want to tell them everything because they may look, you know, again, this is where, again, the coaching is. And so you want to make sure you ask the questions because you want to get to a space where at some point you're going to have to discuss this.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, and don't be surprised too, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, if that person hasn't evolved to the space of where you are.
Yeah.
And this is where listening in plays a part. I mean, so if you're going to ask the question, make sure you shut up and listen to the answer. And not to be defensive, not to coach them into what it means. Just take a time and listen and says, okay, well, this person is into this and they're and not into that, and this is where you can say, okay, well, this sounds like more of a person who prefers words of affirmation, or this is a person who's really about quality of time, or this is a person who's all about receiving gifts, and this will help you. Says, okay, well, is this where I can go? Because again, you may be someone who's a 9 to 5. He or she may be an entrepreneur, so your needs to have words of affirmation or physical touch during the afternoon may be a challenge for you. This person may be more flexible than you. So you want to be honest and realistic of what you can provide each other so that someone doesn't feel slighted. So it's
Absolutely.
not they didn't want to, it's just that possibly logistically they couldn't.
Right.
So again, there is so much work to be doing on self. And from there, I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, you can have a much better time and putting yourself in the presence of someone who is going to coincide and align with where you are going on in the life and what you're looking for in a prospective lifetime person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned, we were talking a lot about the 5 love languages, and as we enter this second block, because each block is 3 days, so day one of our second block of everyone has needs. that's a great way to remind everyone, or to let everybody know about tomorrow. We will be covering the love languages, right? And we've covered this on our channel before, the love languages. But what I want to remind viewers, if you have not watched that video and if you feel like you've heard it before, is that depending on where you are in your life and what's going on in your life, sometimes your love languages can change. And that's why I always recommend everyone to revisit that, because what thought that you needed when you were in your 20s is not going to be the same thing you need in your 40s and your 50s. You know what I mean? And so sometimes we evolve, or we change a little bit. And so tomorrow we're going to definitely tap into understanding your love language, and that way, kind of ties into this. Everyone has needs, because it is a thing. Like, you need to know all this about yourself moving forward, so that when you do date, and find someone to rock with, right, for the forever and ever and ever, that you are clear about who you are, so that you can date with intentions. And doing that, meaning that you have to know a lot about yourself, not looking to other people to fulfill a void in your life, or an unhappiness in your life. You have to be in a place of receiving and healed, or on your way to heal, to really get, what the dating world is really about. Because if you're out here dating and you're dating from an unhealed place, or untapped into space, then you can't be your all out here, you know. And so, yeah, so as we wrap this up, please make sure you join us tomorrow. And if you are catching us for the first time, go back and watch what we talked about the first 3 days, which is dating mindset. And that was just like getting yourself prepared to receive all this goodness during our 12 days till Christmas series. All right. So, Ronnie, do you have anything before we wrap up?
I just want to remind everybody they can go to datingdiscussions.com, and that way they can reach out to Yashika or I if there's some coaching to help you in this direction as we're going to the holiday seasons and into 2022 for dating. That's datingdiscussions.com. And of course, you can reach us on Facebook, Dating Discussions with Ronnie and Yashika, as well as Instagram, Ronnie and Yashika. So again, I thank you. I want everyone to go out there, have an incredible Friday, as well as a wonderful, wonderful weekend. All right, so I'll talk to you soon. That was pretty much it.
Absolutely. All right. Don't forget, if you're catching us live, make sure we know you're here live. And if it's a replay, make sure that you hashtag replay. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.